Coming up, I return to the Exploring Magic Kingdom series with a look at where it all begins. Main Street, USA. Disney presents Beyond the Kingdoms. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's main show of Beyond the Kingdoms. Like always, I'm your host David, and today I'm returning to the popular Exploring Magic Kingdom series with a look at an area of the park that may be light in attractions, but absolutely packed with great Disney details. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so that you never miss an episode. But let's rewind the clock and travel back in time to turn of the century America. So many times when we all enter the Magic Kingdom, we often rush down Main Street, hypnotized by the pull of Cinderella Castle and eager to go on our first adventure either into outer space, uncharted waters in the Caribbean, or back in time during the western expansion of America. But next time you visit the park, get there bright and early and take in the sights and sounds of Main Street. This land not only serves as the introduction to Magic Kingdom, but also pays tribute to some of the most important figures in Disney history. Main Street also packs in an amazing lineup of entertainment, from small-scale and intimate shows like the Dapper Dans, to the greatest spectacle of them all, the new Happily Ever After fireworks display. And it's easy to forget that some of the most iconic Disney snacks can all be found right here on Main Street. All in all, this land is home to 2 attractions, dozens of shops, 6 food locations, and a whopping 11 entertainment offerings. This is Main Street, USA. If we're starting at the beginning of Magic Kingdom with Main Street, then we must take a look at the architecture and classic Disney details. All of the lands inside the Magic Kingdom beautifully combine real-life landmarks from around the globe with classic stories and fairy tales. However, Main Street is rooted in history more than any other. When Walt originally designed and worked on Disneyland in California, he drew upon his own hometown of Marceline, Missouri for the inspiration of Main Street. In reality, as much as the California version is a romantic view of early 20th century architecture found in the Midwest, many of the structures are inspired by real landmarks in other areas of the country. In fact, Imagineer Harper Goff has stated that many of the buildings in Disneyland's Main Street is directly inspired by the old town in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is coincidentally Harper Goff's hometown. And many Disney fans have mistakenly said that Florida's Main Street is also completely inspired by Victorian structures dotted around the Midwest. While the era and time period is correct, there are subtle nods to other regions of the country dotted around Main Street in Florida, such as the iron balconies seen on the side street that look a little like something out of New Orleans. But another major difference between Magic Kingdom's Main Street in comparison to Disneyland's is the size. Everything is indeed bigger here in Florida. The buildings are not full scale, and we all know that's to help the forced perspective look onto Cinderella Castle. But the buildings are not quite as small as they are in California. Florida's Main Street is actually much more elaborate, ornate, and certainly taller, giving the entry into the park a more grand experience than the intimate, romantic feeling you get when entering Disneyland. I always like to draw upon the literature that can be seen in the various lands of the Magic Kingdom. But as many of you know, Main Street is really meant to be the opening credits to all the stories you'll encounter later. So the real story seen on Main Street is not just the story of America's past, but a memorial to the lives of many Disney figures who have contributed to the parks. The windows on Main Street are a tribute to legends that have dreamed up some of the most iconic experiences around the Disney parks. And the best way to see them is by boarding the Omnibus first thing in the morning and taking a ride down Main Street. Every day at the Magic Kingdom, one of the most underrated attractions operates for just a couple of hours: the Main Street vehicles. You can board a horse-drawn trolley or even a fire engine. Just look for the little signs in Town Square to know where the different vehicles will pick you up. To list all the Imagineers and figures on the Main Street windows would take me forever, so I just want to highlight some of my favorites. One of the first and more obvious windows is at the top of the confectionery, Roy O. Disney's window. Roy was of course Walt's older brother and the businessman behind the Visionary. Roy crunched the numbers to ensure that Walt's dreams were not just carried out, but were also practical. Here at Magic Kingdom, Roy plays a very special role because he is the one who oversaw the construction of Disney World after Walt's passing, and he also dedicated the park. So it's fitting that his window is one of the first windows you'll see. Around the corner and also on the exterior of the confectionery is Joe Potter's window. Joe was instrumental in the construction and infrastructure of the Florida project, mainly known for developing the utilidors underneath the park. And one of the ferries to the Magic Kingdom is also named after him. Another reason why he gets a prime spot right up front. Then, halfway down Main Street and on the left side where the Emporium sits, take a look at the windows above the awning that say the House of Magic. On a window advertising what I assume is a fictional circus company, we see tributes to Claude Coates and Mark Davis, both Disney animators turned Imagineers whose more notable works include the Haunted Mansion. So their tribute above a magic shop fits pretty perfectly here. But the most touching window can be seen at the end of the street. In fact, it will be hard to see this one because it's a window on the second floor in between the ice cream parlor and the Plaza restaurant. This is Walt's own window on Main Street. I can't remember where I came across this, but I've read somewhere that Roy purposely wanted Walt's window here so that his spirit would always get a great view of Cinderella Castle. This is perhaps the most heartwarming detail in all of the Magic Kingdom, and proof that this park really is a gift from Roy to his brother Walt. But one more tribute to some important Disney figures is back at the beginning of Main Street and at the Walt Disney World Railroad. Most Disney fans know that there were two key moments that Walt was inspired to build his theme park: an afternoon on the merry-go-round with his daughters, and the construction of the Carrollwood Pacific Model Railroad in his own backyard. Walt's enthusiasm for railways began when he was very young. One of his first jobs as a teenager was selling newspapers on the Missouri Pacific Railway. When he later wanted to create his own miniature railway in his backyard, he called upon Roger E. Broggie for some help. Broggie was a mechanical engineer who first worked for Disney installing some cameras. After successfully building Walt's Carrollwood Pacific, he became the first official Imagineer, overseeing not just the installation of the full-scale railroad that circles the park, but also many of the mechanical aspects of the original attractions. This is why you'll see his name on one of the 4 locomotives found here at the Magic Kingdom. The other 3 are appropriately named Walter E. Disney, the Lily Bell, and the Roy O. Disney. The trains here at Magic Kingdom are real working steam engines. They were first discovered by Broggie and his team in Mexico. They were all purchased for about $32,000 and later restored at the Tampa Ship Repair and Dry Dock Company. Currently, the railroad is not making its grand circle tour around the park due to the construction of the Tron coaster in Tomorrowland. However, now is a great time to see the train up close, since it will be permanently parked at the Main Street station until later this summer. And if you're making a quick stop here, make sure you take a look at all the little details in the station. There are some maps of America's railway system in the late 1800s, beautiful paintings in the lobby, and the mutoscopes. These are early predecessors to film projectors and essentially Victorian-era flipbooks. Magic Kingdom is actually full of a lot of subtle nods to historical landmarks. My favorite in Main Street is the Crystal Palace. This Victorian-style conservatory is home to the Winnie the Pooh character meal that takes place throughout the day. Now, the building here at Disney is said to be inspired by many different structures. There is, of course, the now demolished Crystal Palace that once stood at Hyde Park in London and was home to the Great Exhibition of 1851. The exhibition was organized by Prince Albert, husband to the great Queen Victoria. It was, in many ways, one of the first in a series of World's Fairs that celebrated art and culture from around the world. While the classic Victorian structure certainly has some resemblance to the Crystal Palace here in Florida, I believe that this restaurant is really modeled after a similar building, but much smaller in size, and still sits today in the city of San Francisco. The Conservatory of Flowers is a botanical garden found in the Golden Gate Park in the heart of the city. It stands at nearly 60 feet tall, and its central structure has a very close resemblance to the restaurant here in Florida. But what makes me love this building so much is that it's not only connected to the turn-of-the-century architecture found on Main Street, but also ties in to the Victorian buildings seen towards the entrance of Adventureland. In many ways, Crystal Palace is part of a wider timeline, an architectural story that can be seen here at the Magic Kingdom, and it serves as a transition between these two lands seamlessly. Alright, so let's move into the more practical side of Main Street. And of course, this land is all about shopping. My absolute favorite store to walk into first thing in the morning on a visit to Magic Kingdom is the confectionery. The smell of the candy and the vanilla is pumped throughout the store, and I'm always transported back to my childhood when I step inside here. There's a great show kitchen where you can see some Disney chefs conjuring up classic Disney sweets, and this is a great place to purchase some baked goods, my favorite being the fudge. And adjacent to this is the hat store, where you can pick up the most iconic Disney souvenir, those adorable Mickey hats. This is one of two locations in the park where you can get your ears and have them embroidered. A second location, and sometimes less busy, is in the Fantasy Fair shop at the exit to PhilharMagic. But if you step inside to this Main Street hat shop, look for a telephone on the wall. If you pick it up, you may hear some funny conversations as you eavesdrop on someone else's phone call. Next, we have the infamous Emporium. Everyone always hits up this store on a visit to the Magic Kingdom. It's perhaps the largest single store in any Disney World park, and it sells everything. Towards the front of the store, you have collectibles like mugs, keychains, and more. And next, you'll find an endless room of plush toys. The midsection of the Emporium is where you'll find more of the seasonal items on display. For example, at Halloween, there's always a great collection of spooky merchandise. Then the final section of the store before you hit Casey's Corner is apparel, mainly for the adults. I know that this is the best one-stop shop for everything you're looking for while on vacation, but do yourself a favor and avoid this megastore at park closing time. It becomes a madhouse. The best advice I can give you here is that if you arrive to the park an hour before official opening time, you'll get to browse the stores on Main Street with almost no crowds. Many of the stores and landmarks on Main Street have been drastically changed over the years. The Main Street Cinema used to have a small movie house inside, but it's now home to a collection of Disney art. But there are two stores that still exist in almost original form here on Main Street in Florida. First of all, we have Uptown Jewelers. This is halfway up Main Street on the right-hand side. And as the name suggests, this is where you can get your hands on some Disney jewelry, like the classic Mickey Mouse watches. The back of the store is now sponsored by Pandora, and there is a beautiful jewelry counter with dozens of unique items. And closer to the entrance of the store is where you'll find some selections from the Dress Shop, a collection of throwback dresses inspired by classic Disney rides. But one of my other favorite stores is just across the street, the Crystal Arts Store. If you watched my Exploring Mexico episode from Epcot, you may know the story here. This store is run by Arribas Brothers, which has a long history with Disney dating back to the New York World's Fair. The company specializes in a range of products from glass-blown ornaments to crystal figurines. Here at Magic Kingdom, there is a terrific setup where you can see the artists making the products up close. The two brothers who originally started the company, Tomás and Alfonso Arribas, represented Spain at the 1964-65 New York World's Fair. At the historic event, the brothers' work caught the eye of Walt, who loved their crystal pieces so much that he later invited them to open up their own shop inside Sleeping Beauty Castle at Disneyland. Now, the company is run by Alfonso's son and has 11 locations at various Disney parks around the world. Now, food is not something that often comes to mind when people think about Main Street. And while the cuisine is nothing imaginative and pretty much run-of-the-mill American food, there are a few things worth highlighting. And first, we have Casey's Corner. This quick service restaurant is located at the very end of Main Street on the left-hand side. Outside the restaurant, the Main Street pianist can usually be seen plucking out classic tunes on the piano. Inside, the restaurant is themed to a classic American pastime, the game of baseball. Next time you're here, check out the vintage photos and prints. I highlight Casey's because it serves up some of the best and most delicious hot dogs on Disney property. I know that hot dogs sound a little bit boring, but if it's anywhere to get a hot dog at Disney, it's here. The corn dog nuggets are delicious and a great snack, but I personally love the mac and cheese hot dog. The restaurant is open for lunch and dinner and offers the mobile food order service, which I highly recommend here over almost any other location because the restaurant is very small and often packed. Across the street, you have another popular snack spot with the ice cream parlor. This is one of the locations where you can indulge in the Mickey kitchen sink sundae, and now Minnie as well. Or you can just be sensible and have a scoop or two of ice cream. And of course, you have the Main Street Bakery. Back in 2012, Starbucks took over the bakery, moving the colossal cinnamon rolls over to Fantasyland. But the bakery is still a good place to pick up specialty treats, especially during the Halloween and Christmas parties. Now, table service restaurants are not the most memorable on Main Street, but there are a few things to take note of. First of all, we have the Crystal Palace again, perhaps the best table service restaurant on Main Street. As I stated earlier, this restaurant offers a character meal with Winnie the Pooh and his friends, all at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Pricing starts at $25 for kids and $38 for adults at breakfast. And then it jumps up to $30 and $50 for lunch and dinner. I'm going to skip some details here because I recently tried out dinner at this restaurant and I'll soon have my full review on my website. Next we have the Plaza Restaurant, which is across Main Street on the way to Tomorrowland. This is the smallest restaurant at Magic Kingdom, but actually the most affordable and overlooked. Plaza's menu is best for those looking for something familiar and safe. Some of the favorites here are the homestyle meatloaf and the fried green tomato sandwich. And finally, all the way back at the entrance to the park, we have Tony's Town Square Restaurant, which is appropriately themed after the same restaurant seen in the animated film Lady and the Tramp. Now, I will be honest with you, you can get far better Italian food at other dining locations around Disney World. The only reason to consider dining here is if you're interested in the Festival of Fantasy dining package. The dining package comes with reserved viewing of the parade right at the heart of Town Square. And Tony's is the only restaurant that offers this. It's priced at $54 for adults and $19 for kids. Otherwise, just make a quick stop in front of the restaurant to check out Lady and the Tramp's cute little paw prints in the concrete sidewalk. One of those very overlooked Disney details. But above all the little details, the shopping and the food, Main Street is most known for its entertainment. There is a terrific collection of offerings from small-scale yet classic shows like the Dapper Dans to the new Happily Ever After fireworks show. Let's first look at the charming small-scale shows here on Main Street. At the very start of every day at Magic Kingdom, you'll be greeted with the Main Street Trolley Show. If you weren't already excited to be inside the Magic Kingdom when you first arrive, this little show will certainly put you in a great mood for the day. This starts at the front of the hub and actually makes several stops down the street 3 times a day at 9:20 a.m., 10:15, and 12 noon. And a few years ago, Disney updated this show to change seasonally, so you get new costumes and songs during all 4 seasons of the year. Next we have an oldie but a goodie. The Dapper Dans first appeared in Disneyland back in 1959. Ever since, the Barbershop Quartet have become a Main Street icon. No trip to Magic Kingdom is complete without watching these guys sing. Showtimes will vary, but usually the Dapper Dans will make appearances up to 6 times a day between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. And like the trolley show, their costumes and songs will rotate with the seasons. Until very recently, less popular characters such as Pluto and Chippendale would make appearances here in the daytime hours. But since the debut of Mickey and Minnie's Surprise Celebration, this has become a must-do character location. Because every day, for what I believe will be the rest of the year, a surprise pair of characters will come out. On the first day of this new offering, Nick and Judy from Zootopia were out meeting guests. Ever since this started, there have been sightings of Phineas and Ferb, Remy and Emile, and characters from Disney's Robin Hood. That's a real rare sight to see. And inside Town Square Theater, the celebration continues. In honor of Mickey and Minnie's 90th birthday, the cute couple are now meeting fans inside Town Square Theater together. Ever since 2011, this has been home to Mickey's meet and greet. But just a few weeks ago, he got a new birthday costume and Minnie has joined him. It's an adorable photo op. And next door to Mickey and Minnie is also where guests can meet Tinkerbell. This is currently the only place to meet Tink in all of the Florida parks. And both her and Mickey and Minnie's meet and greet offer FastPass Plus reservations. Let's next move to another Main Street staple, the parades. In addition to the new meet and greets, Mickey and Minnie's Surprise Celebration has also now seen the debut of a new daytime street party. Back on January 18th, the Move It, Shake It, Mouse-Dance It street party got a facelift. This mini parade and dance party starts in Town Square, makes its way down Main Street, and ends at the hub. The update now features a catchy new song that's really hard to get out of your head, and some new costumes, and a character lineup change. So this party now features the Fab Five along with Daisy, Clarabelle Cow, and a great character, if you were a fan of Disney Afternoon in the 90s, Max Goof. The street party currently takes place 3 times a day, at 11 a.m., 12:30 p.m., and 5:45. And of course, the big parade here at Magic Kingdom is the Festival of Fantasy Parade. Since Main Street Electrical Parade got retired in 2016, Festival of Fantasy is the only parade currently running at Magic Kingdom. In the spring of 2014, Festival of Fantasy made its long-anticipated debut down Main Street. The parade features 7 stunning floats that are beautifully decorated and includes a great cast of characters. You still have classic princesses like Cinderella, but the parade is led by Belle and the Beast, and you'll also get to see Tiana, Anna, and Elsa. Other more recent princesses get their own floats with some terrific special effects, such as Rapunzel, Ariel, and Merida. Thankfully, the parade still pays tribute to some classic animated films such as Peter Pan, which has an awesome float of a pirate ship on top of a rainbow, and even Sleeping Beauty. And just this month, the infamous dragon from the film made its return to the Magic Kingdom and continues to breathe fire down the streets of Magic Kingdom. The Festival of Fantasy Parade has only 1 performance time, and currently it's at 3 p.m. The parade starts in Frontierland next to Splash Mountain and crosses the Liberty Square Bridge to the hub before making its way down Main Street. The show is still very popular, so it's best to line up at least 30 minutes before showtime if you want to get a really good seat. And now we're on to the real big stuff. The Castle Forecourt Stage and Cinderella Castle is home to 4 shows at Magic Kingdom. If you arrive to the park bright and early, you'll catch the newly updated Welcome Show at about 5 minutes to official park opening time. Now, I used to adore the Welcome Show at the train station, but logistically, this is an improvement when it comes to crowd flow. And that's because, like I said, you can now enter the park a full hour before opening time, and that's not to be confused with the morning extra magic hours. This 5-minute show features almost all of the Disney princesses, the Fab Five, and a few more additional characters. And with the help of the fairy godmother, everyone opens the park together. Next, we have Mickey's Royal Friendship Fair, another updated entertainment offering that started performing here at Magic Kingdom back in 2016. Like the parade, this show puts a focus on the newer Disney princesses and characters. The show features 3 main sections, each dedicated to the films Tangled, The Princess and the Frog, and of course, Frozen. I personally love it when Tiana and Naveen come out and do a show-stopping tap number together. And if you're still on a Frozen kick, this is yet another chance to sing along the infamous song with Anna, Elsa, and Olaf. There are usually 5 performances a day of this at 10:30, 11:30, 1, 2, and 4:15. But as the sun sets on Cinderella Castle, nighttime entertainment takes over the hub at Magic Kingdom. One of the new projection shows seen around the parks in Florida includes Once Upon a Time. This is really a precursor to the fireworks show later on in the night. And it debuted at Magic Kingdom in 2016 to coincide with the 25th anniversary of Beauty and the Beast. Which is why the show is narrated by Mrs. Potts, who's telling some classic bedtime stories to Chip, taking us on a stunning projection show through classic Disney animated films. The show takes place every night about 30 minutes before Happily Ever After, which takes me to the grand finale of the tour. Happily Ever After is a stunning fireworks display that lights up the sky at the Magic Kingdom. The show uses state-of-the-art projection mapping, lasers, music, and of course, a whole lot of fireworks. This is nearly a 20-minute long show. When I first heard that a new show would be replacing Wishes, I was devastated. But this truly is the best fireworks show you'll see at Disney World. I still get goosebumps every time I watch it. Currently, the show starts at 8 p.m., but in the summer months, it usually moves back to 9 p.m. It is extremely popular, so here are some viewing tips. If you want a prime spot in the hub, be prepared to stake out a good spot 45 minutes to an hour before the show. Yes, you heard me correctly. There are other decent spots to watch the show, like the Tomorrowland Bridge. Just know that if you do this, you'll miss the projections on the castle, which are stunning. Or you can simply do one of the many paid-for options to get a good spot. I know I've talked about dessert parties a lot in the past. If you're considering any of them at the parks, this could be the one that's most worth your money. Simply because this nighttime spectacular is the best, the most popular, and a must-see. And with that, my friends, we are at the end finally of my Grand Circle tour of Main Street USA. That was surprisingly a very big episode, but I know that many of you have already enjoyed this series and love the details. If you haven't seen them, check out episodes in this series covering Adventureland, Frontierland, and Liberty Square. And then throughout this month, I will complete the series with a look at Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. And you can also catch similar episodes covering Animal Kingdom and World Showcase. But that will certainly have to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.